It is June, one of the first warm mornings. Today we have a slightly different lesson of natural sciences. It is out in the nature. We will go along the orchid trail and try to find out what it can tell us. What do you think? Shall we be able to hear it? We will try to photograph everything we see or hear and show to you. Yes, we will try to record the sound as well. We have an international project where several Latvian mayors are included. This is one of the 3 project sites. We study the project sites as well as educate people about these areas. But the main aim of the work is to carry out the Mayor restoration in Latvia. It's clear. Let's go. I almost forgot. To understand better the story of the Orchid Trail, we have invited an interpreter of the story, Agnes. She works in a small team of Mayor researchers, who will try to help the Mayor ecosystem to recover.
Mēs esam nonākuši orhideju takas pašā sākumā.
We are now at the very beginning of the Orchid Trail. This is a place from which we will start to get acquainted with fens located in the vicinity of Angur Lake. The trail has got the name of orchids as botanists have found here 32 species, which is really a lot. These are almost all species that occur in Latvia.
Anguras piekrastes stāsts ir ļoti īpašs, jo faktiski mēs stāvam.
The story of Angur Lake coast is very special, as we are standing in a place and time, not long time after the retreat of Ice Age in Latvia. If we were at this stage of Mayor development in another Latvian Mayor, most probably it would be about 6,000 years ago. It would be the time when people had not inhabited this area yet. The land, the sea and the border between them looked very different. We can imagine that there were a shallow sandy coastal gulf. In the time being, the sea retreated, dunes and lake established. Let's go further and see how it looks at present and what changes have taken place.
Un skatīsimies, kas no tā ir sanācis mūsdienās un kā šī visa aina ir veidojusies.
The vicinity of Angur Lake is a very well-known birthplace to ornithologists and other nature experts. Therefore, already in the Soviet times, an ornithological reserve was established, which later was transformed into a nature reserve. At present, it is a protected nature area of European importance.
Šitās te ir bezdelīga actīns un šitas īpašais augums.
This is the bird's eye primrose, and this is a special plant, fly orchid. It is a very rare orchid species known only in 3 sites in Latvia, from which 2 are our project areas.
Mēs atrodamies ļoti jaunā purvā, kas ir tikai apmēram 170 gadus vecs.
We are now in a very young mire, which is only 170 years old. Maybe you have heard that the oldest mires in Latvia have originated much earlier, about 6,000 to 10,000 years ago. So this is a very, very young mire.
Šis ir ļoti jauns, varētu teikt, tāds purva bērnība. Un šī purva veidošanās gaitā ļoti liela loma ir bijusi cilvēkam.
We may say the childhood of the mire. People had an important role in the process of this mire development. At that stage, when the lake was much larger, people looked for land. In the coastal villages, there has been always the lack of agricultural land and it was poor.
19. gadsimta vidū cilvēki izdomāja, ka ezeru varētu nolaist.
In the 19th century, at this place, it was decided to lower the water level of the lake, grow cereal, graze cattle and cut hay. It happened like that. In Maastricht, a canal was dug, water level lowered and this area appeared. About a century and a half ago, here was the bottom of a lake. Today, we see trees, reeds and different mire plants, but at that time, maybe even 100 years ago, most probably here was a sandy plain without the trees. The relief was formed by dunes and depressions between them. In the wetter areas, water accumulated and slowly a mire started to develop.
Šajās vietās uzkrājās ūdens un pamazām sāk veidoties purvs. Te mēs redzam ļoti daudz retu augu sugu.
Here, in the vicinity of Angor Lake, we see many rare plants the lake is famous for, like brownback rush, which can be considered as a main species in this area. Here are many orchid species. At present is a beautiful blooming time for flowers. We see the bird's eye primrose, as well as the first orchid species and insectivorous plants in bloom, like the common butterwort. These are the species we are going to observe. Look, we have found the insectivorous plant Agnes mentioned, common butterwort. There is a sticky substance on its leaves which attracts the insects. The next stop is a fen, where we will see what is the most special in the vicinity of Angor Lake.
Mēs esam nonākuši Zāļu purvā, kas ir
We have come to a fen which is famous for calcareous growth conditions for the plants. It means that below our feet we have lots of lime. How has it originated here? It has a close connection with the fact that previously here was a sea. If we dig a small hole here, we see that below our feet there are many shells.
Ir ļoti daudz gliemežvāciņu, kas tajā laikā šeit ir tātad dzīvojuši jūrā.
In earlier time they were in the sea and have originated from lime, calcium carbonate. They are the ones who have made this habitat suitable for the growth of fen plants. Those who would say that this is not a mire would be partly right, as here is no peat. Still, we must remember that this is a very young mire. These 170 years is a short time in the history of earth development. Therefore, we can find fen plants, but there is still no peat, not yet.
Mums ir purva augi, bet nav kūdras. Vēl nav. Mēs šeit purvā esam sastapuši vienu no 32 orhideju sugām.
We have found here one of the 32 orchid species. At present, it is the beginning of June and it has started to bloom. It is the flecked marsh orchid, rare and protected plant species in Latvia. All around us we see the bird's eye primrose, which has the best blooming time now. The primrose tells how the Latvian nature has changed. Sometimes it seems to us that it has been always like it is now, but it's not like that. The primrose is a good example for that. Still, 50 to 70 years ago, people remember and often tell that all the ditches were full of primroses and it was possible to collect them in buckets. Then it was nothing extraordinary. Nowadays, the primrose is an especially protected plant species. Its number is still decreasing. The reason is the overgrowing of meadows and fens after drainage and the change of human lifestyle. There are less cattle, hay is cut rarer. As the result, conditions develop which favor the decrease of primrose. And together with it disappear also other plants which are not so notable, as they look like a common grass, but include rare and valuable plant species. Happily, here we have lots of primroses.
Šeit par laimi bezdelīgu actiņu vēl ar vienu ir daudz.
Here is a place where researchers carry out their studies and regular monitoring to know how water level and plant cover changes. They measure also the greenhouse gases which are emitted from the fen. It has turned out that the mire drainage is an essential cause for greenhouse gas emission. The greenhouse gas effect itself favors warming up the earth.
Šodien mēs izmēģināsim vienu instrumentu, Tas izskatās vienkārši, ar to mēs varam paņemt paraugu.
Today we will try an instrument. It looks simple. With it we can take the sample from the tree without harming it, as it's just a small one. We will get a sample of the tree core and try to count how old are the trees in this place. Let's try. How old is this pine?
Tā veca ir uz aci grūti pateikt.
It is difficult to tell just from a look. I can only guess that the pine is about 80 years old. We will check that.
Ja mēs gribam noteikt koku vecumu, pie tam precīzi, tad nemaz nav tik vienkārši.
It is not so easy to determine the precise age of the tree. It is not that we can go into the fen and tell that the pine is 100 years old, but the next one 20 years old, because the visible signs, like crooked branches, bent stem, can be misleading. If we would try to determine how old is a pine in an overgrown meadow, then the easiest way would be to count the branch jaws as it's here.
Kas tur nesen ieviesusies, tad vienkāršākais ir saskaitīt zaru žāklītes. Nu, tā kā šeit 1,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. But for the oldest pines, the lowest branches have become dry and disappeared already a long time ago. We cannot be sure that we count all the branches.
Vecums vai augstums nav rādītāji, kas purvā pateikt, cik īsti šis koks ir vecs. Un tādos brīžos mēs varam izmantot.
In a fen, the width and the height of the tree is not an indicator that would prove how old is the tree. In such situation, we can use this instrument, rather simple, with which you can work in the forest and mire, also determine the age heritage tree. This is Pressler auger. We can assemble it in the following way. With the outside we screw in, and in the middle will be a core. We screw in and then take it out.
Tad mēs ieurbjam, un tad mēs pagriežam otrādi, lai mēs tā kā nogrieztu to serdīti. Tad...
This is a tree core. What do we do with this core? We count the lines which can be seen on the core. In the stage, which is not the full core of the tree, we can count 40 years.
Svītriņas, kas ir redzams uz serdes.
Thus, in total, we can guess the age of the tree is 70 till 80 years. The outside rings are larger and wider. It means that during this time the tree has felt better and better.
No 70, 80 gadiem. Šīs gadskārtas šeit uz āru šajos te
If we would study a tree that has grown in dry forest with good growth conditions, the rings would be much wider.
Ja mēs skatītos koku, kas ir audzis sausā mežā, kur ir kokiem labi patīkami augšanas apstākļi, šīs gadskārtas būtu vēl daudz platākas. Pašlaik mēs šeit redzam kaut ko tādu kā vecu dzeltenīgu zāli. Tā viss ir.
At present, we see here old and yellowish grass. It is sausage, species from sedge family, which slowly replaces other species. We see here lots of sausage, but in Latvia it is rare and especially protected plant species, which grows only in calcareous fens.
Tikai kaļķaino zāļu purvos un dažreiz arī ezeru krastos.
Just here, in a place of open water, a fen has started to develop. If the climate will not change, then here with time peat will accumulate and other features of mile will develop. Sausage is a special species, as it really has very sharp leaves. If you touch the margin of the leaf, most probably you will cut the finger. It is like that. Everyone must protect itself. Plants as well. They say, "Do not touch me, I can scratch you." Sausage is just one of the numerous plants of the fen.
Bioloģisko daudzveidību parasti mēra kādās vienībās, un nereti tas ir sugu skaits, un cilvēki...
Biological diversity commonly is measured in some units. Often, it is the number of species.
Taču mums vienmēr ir jāskatās, kā...
People commonly think, the more species, the higher biological diversity. That is true. Still, we must look what species live in each place, and why. For example, a calcareous fen suddenly becomes dry, then we can expect that the species characteristic for the fen disappear. Of course, open place will not remain there. It is not like that in nature. Something will come instead. Most probably, it will be forest. Pine, birch, dry forest bryophytes will appear here, but we will lose the plant species which grow only in calcareous fens. Such conditions we cannot establish artificially. It can be complicated and expensive. In this concrete place, we would lose sausage, brown bugrush, some orchid species. Some species would stay and continue to grow in the forest. Most probably, we would lose bird's eye primrose and common butterwort. Something would stay, something would survive, but in general, it would be a loss of biological diversity.
Kaut kas izdzīvotu, bet kopumā es domāju, ka tas būtu zaudējums dabas daudzveidībai.
In everyday life, it does not come into our minds how many plant species there are and how valuable they are. Let's go further. It becomes more wooded. It's interesting. What Agnes will tell next?
Mēs esam iznākuši no purva un nonākuši joslā, ko veido tāda maza.
We have come out from the fen and reached a belt, which forms a small, flat dune between the fen and Angora Lake. All around us we see a forest. Here we do not find sausage, brown bugrush and orchids, which grow in a fen. In this place we can look below our feet and see what is in a fen, as the material is the same as in earlier time was swirled by the sea and has established the calcareous conditions. Here is a fallen down root of a tree and we can see that it is really hidden below our feet. It is sand. There are many shells from earlier time, from the time 6,500 years ago, when the sea was there. It was an ancestor of the present-day Baltic Sea. It was the same sea, just with another name. One of the shells, who has the Latin name Littorina, has given the name to the sea. If you take a magnifying glass, you can see that there are several kinds of shells. There are many shells. Especially well we can observe it on a sandy outcrop near the fallen fir tree root.
Smilts atsegumā pie nokritušās egles saknes.
Look, a fallen tree. Maybe we must sow firewood. Agnes has another opinion. A forest needs the dry trees. They even have their own name.
Šeit ir redzams viens koks, kas vairs nav dzīvs, tātad nokaltis radus.
Here we see a tree which is not alive anymore. It has died back. Such standing dry tree is called dry wood. I am sitting on a decaying tree, which is also a dead tree, but lies on the ground. It may seem that such trees should not be in the forest. What could do here such a dead trees? It's all firewood for the stove. It appears that these dry trees have a special role in the nature. Here we see that such dry tree offers a rich micro-world that includes wood in different stages of rotting, various holes, branch growths. If we look even closer, then we see what lives there. There are various beetles which eat wood. Here is food for a woodpecker, who has sculpted the holes. Here you can see many old woodpecker forgings. Lichens, often bryophytes, grow here. Sometimes you can find snails and other small creatures which cannot live on alive trees. If we take a magnifying glass and then look at those trees which lie on the ground for a long time, we would find a great species diversity. It means that such tree, slowly decaying for a long time, even several decades, ensures special environment for many species, which cannot live anywhere else, only in fallen or rotten trees. To be more concrete, we can find here even several species of lichens and bryophytes. Such trees slowly overgrow with various plants, lingonberries, blueberries and other plants, and slowly disappear. They do their job in nature when they are growing trees, as well as when they are dry, fallen or standing trees for a long time.
Un izzūd, bet savu darbu viņi ir padarījuši dabā, gan būdami augoši dzīvi koki, gan pēc tam ilgu laiku kā sausi krituši vai stāvoši koki.
The Orchid Trail has told its story. We have seen a lot. Without Agnes, we have not noticed and understood so much. Anyway, we have got new impressions, knowledge and friends.
Urā! Pagaidi, vēl nekur neejam.